we talked a lot about Paul Skenes today. He's now 10 to win, or 10 to 1 to win the NL Cy Young Award. He was 25 to 1 to start the day. A buddy of mine let me know, he's fan 7 through 4 innings. And I immediately ran to grab my phone, fumbled it, which almost cost me, but picked it up quickly, put in a Paul Skenes bet. I got it 21 to 1. For him to win the NL Cy Young. I don't know that I love him actually winning the award, but a 21 to 1 for a guy that's playing as well as he has and pitching as well as he has, it felt like it was too good to pass up. Have you made a bet on this award maybe at the start of the season that you're feeling good about now?
No, I haven't, but I like that you fired off Skeens today, and you saw his price get halved after this start today, and we've seen highlight reel strikeouts from him, and double digit strikeout games time after time, and like now today it feels like as we near the All-Star break, it feels like his number burst in the bad way for anybody that wanted to jump on it and didn't. So good for you, man. You got it at 21 to 1. I do not have a Cy Young Award future bet. I don't know if I will make one, just because you got a lot of uncertainty there. Again, the big thing with Skeens, does Pittsburgh shut him down if they fade away from the playoff race in August? I think there's a possibility. So that's something that you wouldn't want to see. But if he does end up making a start every 5 days through September, I mean, he's got a real good shot to win it. So I think that's the only thing you're really worried about as a Paul Skeens ticket holder for the NL Cy Young. I'm looking at Chris Sale and Zach Wheeler. Wheeler's the favorite. Sale's just behind him. Sale, again, he's having a phenomenal rejuvenated bounce back season. And it's another guy, though. I mean, it feels like one wrong move and he could be on the shelf for a month, or just another injury waiting to happen. So he is somebody I do not want to touch, simply because I will not get burned if I bet Chris Sale to win the Cy Young and he gets hurt again. So, really for me, if you're looking for value, and Jake Hassan mentioned it before, Tyler Glasnow at 25 to 1. I think for the strikeout numbers he produces every single time he goes out on the mound, the fact that the Dodgers are a great team, he's got as good of a shot as anybody that's, not the top 3 guys to win it. So I think he continues to make good starts here. I think he's a good bet. And I said this a couple of weeks ago, Max Fried is somebody that it may be worth $5 because he got off to such a horrendous start this year. And for the last 2 months, I mean, it's quality start after quality start after quality start. He might not get the strikeouts necessary to win the award, but man, I mean, this dude has been a dog for the last month and a half or so. If he keeps pitching like this, his odds are only going to continue to drop.
We got 90 seconds here before we hit another break. I'm curious as to how you feel about it, because one of the things that I really don't like just as a gambler, some of these numbers for awards that still have a lot of season left to play out, incredibly short. Don't favor the gambler at all. You look at the Cy Young, a lot of guys that are in the plus 120, plus 150. You look at MVP, and your guy up there in New York, Aaron Judge, he's like minus 200, minus 300, depending on where you get it. How do you feel about those kind of numbers, knowing that there's still so many games left to play that it feels like that's unfair to us to wager?
Yeah, well, I mean, you said it, man, and that's a big reason why I normally stay away from the futures market in baseball unless you place one before the season. Again, like you said, and Jake Hassan mentioned it as well. We know the history with the Judge. He gets hurt, like, bang, that could be the award right out the window there. So minus 200 when there's still 65 games to play is absolutely absurd. It definitely does not favor us, the wagerer, the gambler.
Speaking of Paul Skeens, Jake, he started today 25 to 1 to win the NL Cy Young. After the performance today, he is now 10 to 1. Are you sprinkling anything on Paul Skeens potentially coming away with the NL Cy Young this year?
I never would at the price, fellas, and here's why. And I knew you guys would ask this question because I got texted this question by a couple of different people. And here's the problem with Paul Skeens at 10 to 1 for NL Cy Young. Nobody has thrown less than 160 innings and won this award since Rick Sutcliffe in 1984, and he threw 150. And Paul Skeens is on track for about 130 at his current pace. You can make the argument, well, as the summer goes on, he'll go deeper into games and we'll see a couple of complete games. Sure, I mean, let's say he gets to 140. Let's say he even gets to 150. Does anyone really think that in a year when Chris Sale and Zach Wheeler and Tyler Glasnow are at the top, 3 guys, by the way, who voters have been dying to give a Cy Young Award to for the last 5 years, maybe longer, does anyone really think that those guys are going to get snubbed while Glasnow in his rookie year gets it when he's only throwing about 150 innings, if he even gets to that point?
Joe, and then for anybody else that is watching along on Twitch, you can see I got my Notre Dame green shirt on right now. I'm pumped up for the Irish here. I think they're definitely going to be ranked inside the top 10 to start the season, may even be close to 5 here. And they get Mike Elko, the brand new looking Texas A&M Aggies here at Kyle Field in College Station to start the season. Kind of soft schedule after that here. I'm going to be pissed if Notre Dame's not in the college football playoff this year, especially with it being upgraded to 12 teams here. They had Riley Leonard, the stud from Duke from last year, coming off the ankle surgery. He said he is 100% ready to go. Big expectations, a lot of pressure on Marcus Freeman as the head coach last year. The way that they finished those games against Ohio State, and Clemson, did not draw a lot of confidence for me in his ability to win close games as a head coach. But they've got a lot of good wide receivers coming back. We know they got to replace the big tackles on the offensive line, especially Joe Alt. But the defense looks as good as ever. They had Mike Denbrock as the offensive coordinator. He comes back to Notre Dame. For a lot of Irish fans out there, the Cowboys are America's team. Notre Dame is America's team for college football. What do you think of the Irish this year?
Yeah, you brought up the one position group that I think is that of concern, which is the offensive line. They are replacing Blake Fisher and Joe Alt, so there's some question marks on what direction that they go in. But man, if I look at this defensive side of the football, they're bringing back so many studs. They've lost so few guys that were of their most importance on that defense. And I look specifically in their secondary with Xavier Watts and Benjamin Morrison. You mentioned specifically why I'm high on them to get to the playoff. They have a really light schedule, and it's always been a criticism of Notre Dame. I've always pushed back in saying that they're aggressive in trying to schedule these premier SEC programs, premier Big Ten programs. They do get the advantage of going to Kyle Field when Mike Elko is stepping into his first ever game. There's obviously familiarity with the Notre Dame quarterback, Riley Leonard. There is potential for that game to be a tone setter for the Fighting Irish if they can come out, win that game, maybe by a touchdown. I think that would prove that Notre Dame is up to the caliber that we both believe that they could be. They also have to play Florida State, and outside of that, that's pretty much it. I think that as long as those two games are close and say they theoretically lose them, they could be that last team sneaking in, because we know that the committee is going to value potentially brands with that last team in that 12 spot, or whoever that ends up being that last spot into the playoff. But there is no reason why Notre Dame shouldn't get to the playoff. That's the more important thing. They should go at least 11-1. There is such a setup for them to get there. And frankly, I have been feeling more confident about Marcus Freeman, especially the way that he's been recruiting lately. But if they don't get to the playoff with this schedule, the lightest schedule that they've had in the past 5 years, maybe, it would be a huge, huge disappointment. And there's probably going to be a lot more pressure on Freeman's shoulders going into year 4.